Welcome to Fueling Your Legacy, hosted by Samuel Knickerbocker. Each week, we expose the faulty foundational mindsets of the past and rebuild a new, stronger foundation essential in creating your legacy. We've got a lot of work to do, so let's get started. It is Book Review Wednesday. So happy to be with you today on Book Review Wednesday on the Fuel Your Legacy podcast. This week, we are reviewing pretty much an iconic book, if we're being completely honest with ourselves, 3 Feet from Gold. This story has been published millions of times, primarily through the book Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. If you haven't read that book, you got to go check it out. Just got to go check it out. This story has influenced millions of people. This story has saved millions of businesses, millions of people's lives, because what it does is it helps people understand the need not only for perseverance, because perseverance is key and essential and awesome, but two, it talks about getting the right people on your team and being willing to be wrong, being willing to be embarrassed and go ask something and admit you don't know what you're doing, right? All of these things you learn from this story, 3 Feet from Gold, okay? So let me paint a picture here of what this story is and why this book is so transcendental in people's lives, okay? So in the book, Think and Grow Rich, the story is being told about R.U. Harvey. Now, R.U. Harvey, his uncle had gold fever, and he was decided, well, I'm going to go out west. I'm going to stake a claim in Colorado. And so he goes out there, ends up buying a bunch of equipment, gets everything he needs, gets set up, strikes gold, and he's just happy as can be. He's proved now to his family that he has some gold, so he goes back, asks for some more investment in so he can get more updated machinery and get everything he needs to really kill it in this gold mining industry, goes back to Colorado. Now he's in Colorado. Imagine this. You're digging holes out in the dirt, almost like Holes in the Movie, right? You're just digging, and you're finding these chunks of gold or these little gold flakes. You're gathering them up, and you're just loving it. Well, eventually, the well runs dry. There's no more gold. There's no more gold in this tunnel. There's no more gold in the stream. He's just plumb out. So he's like, oh man, I'm sure if I just keep going, I'm gonna find some more gold. And so he's drilling and he's drilling and he's drilling and he's digging and he's digging and he's pickaxing and he's just trying to get more gold out of this thing. But after a few months, he goes bankrupt. He doesn't have money to eat. He doesn't have money to pay off his creditors. He doesn't have money for anything. He has to go back home, tail between his legs, and tell everybody that he failed. Now that's embarrassing for him, but in the process of doing so, he's got to get something out of all the machinery and the land and everything. So what he does is this guy comes by, random person comes by and says, hey, well, I'll buy everything for you for pennies on the dollar because obviously you're just going to ditch it. He's like, oh, if I can get anything out of this, I'm super happy. So he gets paid whatever he can. Well, the person who purchases the gold mine, he doesn't know a ton about gold, but he does know enough that he knows that he's not an expert. And so he goes and he gets an expert and says, okay, can you just check out this mine? There was gold here, but then we've been digging and it didn't work. Well, once this gold inspector comes in and kind of gold surveyor comes in and says, oh, there's a very simple explanation to that. The simple explanation is that during the Earth's shifting and moving process, these veins of gold, imagine like a water pipeline, okay? So imagine, water pipeline. We'll say a water pipeline. So you have this water flowing in one direction. It's a pipeline. Imagine just an earthquake happening, severing that pipeline perfectly, and then just like jogging it over. When that happens, now it's as if you kept going in the trajectory of either side of the pipeline, you wouldn't hit gold because it jogged over just a tad. It shifted. Well, that's what happens with gold veins, is they just shift a little bit. So he was doing good, but when he reached the end of that vein, he just was digging into a bunch of random dirt. He didn't know why. And R.U. Harvey was too either embarrassed or whatever the case may be. He didn't, this is what we know, he didn't go and ask a professional for help to actually find out why the gold had run dry. Well, this other guy did, and the explanation was simple. The gold vein had shifted, and R.U. Harvey was digging alongside this other strain of gold, and he was 3 feet from gold the whole time. And so the message in this is, where in your life are you 3 feet from gold? Where in your life did you start out and you were super successful about something, and then for whatever reason, it just ran dry? Like maybe it was a multi-level marketing company where you had some really great initial success and then not a lot of success after. Maybe it was in your career, you're at the bank or you're in corporate America and you rose really quickly to a point, you got to like district manager or store manager or something like that, and then no more promotion. It's been years and you've been just like wanting promotion. You seem to just keep getting passed up for promotions. Where in your life are you sitting 3 feet from gold? You're just plugging down this path thinking, man, it's got to get better. It's got to get better. This can't be this bad the whole time. But the whole time, you're literally 3 feet from gold because you're too stubborn to go ask somebody for help. You're too stubborn to go ask and say, why am I this way? Maybe it's in your faith life. Maybe you used to really have a strong relationship with Christ, and for whatever reason, you're still doing the same things. You're still progressing through the same mannerisms, but because of whatever it is, it's just become habit or become rote, then it's not having that same effect on you. You're not really growing the same as you would have if you went and talked to somebody, a spiritual mentor, coach, somebody you can look up to spiritually, and they helped you realign yourself with where that vein of gold is. Because I promise you one thing, as the world continues to shift, if you're still thinking, and this is a thing, if you're still thinking that what you did yesterday is going to apply tomorrow, you're already out of style. It just is. And I mentioned this book a few times on the podcast, but reading the, what's it called? The Greatest Salesman in the World. In The Greatest Salesman in the World, there's a bunch of scrolls that are kind of like self-affirmations. And one of them says that experience takes too long to get, that we have to work on the assumption or the wisdom of others, because by the time that we accomplish something or learn something, it's going to be out of date. Just to put in perspective, maybe you went to school for a computer degree. Pretty much if you went to a school for a computer degree, by the time you're graduating after 4 years, how many iPhones have come out in the last 4 years? Like, I can say I know this because I need a new iPhone, right? But the iPhones that came out 4 years ago, they were iPhone 5s, okay? So you had the iPhone 5, the color one, and then you had just the normal metal-looking one. And then the next year when the 6 and the 6 Plus and the 6S came out, that is when the 5 SE came out, okay? So, I mean, it's been 4 years in technology, and we are already on the iPhone 10X and 10X Plus, the XS Plus, or Max, I think they call it. Basically, there's been almost 5 models of the phones come out in the last 5 years, and that's how far behind I am on technology, okay? But that's how far behind you are, but from the time you enter college to the time you graduate college on financial education, or not financial education, technological education. And so if you're in that thing, you constantly have to be upgrading your skills, constantly keeping your heart on the beat of where the next vein of gold is. So it can go into culture, it can go into, culture, parenting is a great one as well, right? When I grew up, I didn't even have a TV in my house. My mom cut the cord, there was no TV. Well, now there are children who can operate my cell phone better than I can operate my cell phone. They can operate my computer better than I can operate my computer. They can operate my TV and my Fire Stick and my Hulu and all that stuff way better than I can. And that is to show that there's a shifting in the world about what is working, right? If we tried to raise our children with as little direction as we had growing up, then they're going to be lost and pulled into 1,000 different directions on social media, in schools, in just all type forms of media, TV, what they're watching, what they're saying, things that were definitely not appropriate when I was a child are more appropriate from a societal perspective now. Marijuana use, homosexuality, and I'm not saying anything for or against any of this stuff. I'm just saying there's a lot of things that were not kosher when I was growing up that are commonplace now. A lot. I mean, there's just so much. There's so much things. Pornography is something that seems way more common and applauded now. Abortion, way more common and applauded now. Like it's almost like a rite of passage in certain circles to have had an abortion or thought about having an abortion or would be willing to have an abortion. I mean, all of these things, the world is shifting just like that gold vein shifts. And so the whole book, 3 Feet from Gold, is really about how do we keep pulse on where that gold is? How do we keep pulse on making sure that we're always in the right spot? The cool thing about R.U. Harvey is he's no dummy, and he learned from his mistake, for sure. And what he did is when he found out that he had sold a gold mine to somebody and that there was way more gold and he was just 3 feet from it, he had already moved into the insurance sales industry, and he vowed never to stop 3 feet from gold again. So he built a massive, massive company and infrastructure of people selling life insurance because of his previous experience of stopping 3 feet from gold. So a lot of people look at that and say, oh, it's so unfortunate that R.U. Darby didn't stick to his gold, and he lost out on so much income and he lost out on so much. Well, you can look at it that way, or you can look at it the way that R.U. Darby looked at it. He saw that and said, wow, I'm never going to make that mistake again. Thank goodness I learned my lesson. And he went and created one of the largest insurance sales organizations ever up to that point in the world. So he didn't use it as a sign of defeat. He used it as a sign of direction. And so my question for you is, one, where have you stopped 3 feet from gold? Be honest with yourself. Nobody's judging here. Just be honest with yourself. Where have you stopped 3 feet from gold? What was that goal? Do you want to continue to pursue that goal? If so, who could you ask as a coach, a trusted advisor, somebody who's going to tell you honestly how to get back on the pulse, get back on the vein of where that goal is to keep chasing that goal? If you don't want that, then I would say, okay, what in your life do you want to go do? What new gold are you chasing? And how can you keep your ear and your heart and everything centered on accomplishing and understanding what that gold is and how to stick to it? So that is that's the basics of the book. They spend really the first part of the book telling the story about it, and then Greg S. Reid, he goes through and he tells the story of interviewing different individuals about the story, and then some newer so Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich book is kind of not outdated as far as information, but a lot of the examples, a lot of the people that he interviewed, there were people from the early 1800s. People don't even know these people a lot of times anymore. And so having 3 feet from gold, he went and did very similar thing, interviewed a bunch of people of more current successful companies, and had them tell their story about how they were 3 feet from gold at different times in their career and what they did to push forward and make sure that they blasted through the criticism. How did they put in place different counsel teams or people who could help them understand and gain clarity in those methods. So that is, in a nutshell, what 3 feet from gold is. I don't think you should go read the book still because of the value that it could add and a lot more examples of how you might be able to apply this principle in your life. The biggest thing is, what's the habit, mindset, or behavior that is going to guarantee a meaningful legacy in your life. And for this specific book, I think that the main overarching habit, mindset, and behavior is, one, persist until you succeed. Don't ever let lack of results stop you from trying to accomplish your ultimate goal. Let it be an indicator that you need to adjust, shift, and redirect your efforts, but not give up on your goal. And that's the key distinction. A lot of people, when they meet resistance, they will stop and give up on their goal and say, well, it must not have meant to be. God's trying to show me a sign that I shouldn't be doing this. And I say that's all bull crap. The moment you have a desire, the moment you have a dream about something, that is, in my opinion, right? And we all tell our own stories about God. We all tell whatever helps us. In my opinion, that's God saying, hey, look, I have this gift for you, but you've got to come get it. You've got to go claim this gift. And when you come up with challenges, rather than saying, oh, well, I guess God was just tantalizing me, he doesn't really have a gift for me, say, oh, that's apparently not the way I'm supposed to achieve this goal. I need to look at a new way to accomplish my goals. And that is kind of the things that I've recognized the most as I've gone through business and created my business and helped others create theirs and create some peace of mind and confidence in their financial situation. It's not at all about that just because you come up against opposition that you should stop. It's more that as you come up against opposition, you need to shift, redirect, and refocus. And sometimes that involves asking somebody else and getting some counsel from outside people who know more about the topic, know more about the subject than ever. I'm gonna call my wife out about this, right? So my wife had an opportunity to go get coached a little bit by a golfer who is not the golfer is a little bit pro, right? And there's one way of thinking that would say, well, I don't need to, because what are they going to teach me? I already know enough. And I've had this mentality. I've been called out in my business because it's like, well, I've been told to do a lot of things and I'm not doing them all. And because I'm not doing them all, why would I go ask for more direction if I'm not doing already the direction I've had? And it's really tempting to get stuck in that perspective. And so people will not pay for trainings because they've already heard everything that somebody has to say. I listen to a lot of books, like one a week, and I would say a good 80% of the key principles and things that they're trying to get across in these books are all the same. The difference is you're hearing it from a different perspective. And so sometimes when you're open to it, you actually will be able to have something communicated to you that you would not have otherwise understood if somebody had communicated it differently. And so don't be afraid to go out and seek outside help, even if you think it's something you already know. Go hear it from somebody else. Go hear it from somebody new, because it's always going to add value. And I could list multiple of these experiences that I've had where I've become deaf to some of my leaders because I just hear them say stuff so often. And then I end up failing in my business, and then I'll go hear the same thing that they've been saying for years. I'll hear it from somebody else and be like, I should try that. This is like the newest revelation. I've never thought of this before. And it's like, I'm sure all of my mentors and my leaders are sitting there just like face in palm, like, I have told you this so many times. You're so dumb, Sam, right? I know. And I'm sorry for all those people that I neglect to heed their counsel. The good news is I eventually come around, and I hope that you will as well, come around to understanding that there's nothing wrong. There's nothing shameful about that situation. The biggest thing is, are you aware of it? And what do you want to do about it? So with those closing thoughts, please stay tuned for this week's episode with Richard E. Gordan. I think it's going to blow your mind. Honestly, I think it's going to give you a whole new idea about what it means to have goals and not let obstacles get in the way of your goals. And you might even learn a little bit about martial arts that you didn't know before, because he is his I think it's Facebook, definitely on Instagram. But he calls himself the CEO Dojo. So go ahead and give him a look up, and then follow him on Instagram and Facebook, so that when his episode goes live on Friday, you'll know exactly when it drops, and that you can listen to it and get a little bit more feedback on how you can improve your situation. So super excited for this Friday. We'll catch you next time on Fuel Your Legacy. Thanks for joining us today. If what you heard resonated with you, please like, comment, and share on social media. Tag me so I can give you a shout out on the next episode. And thanks to all those who have left a review. It helps spread the message of what it really takes to build a legacy that lasts. Catch you next time on Fueling Your Legacy.